Gaming and streaming. Two things that I love, and one day I had the bright idea to put the two together, and I made a series of games for some of my favorite streamers, as a lot of you guys may already know. However, in those games there were some issues.
Bro, what is that hitbox? What is that hitbox? What is that hitbox?
So I decided to improve on the past games and add some enemies and some combat to my games. The first thing I needed to do was add new animations. So I went on to itch.io and found a template by Zeggy Games, and I took these animations. In order to take the template from Zeggy Games and marify them, I went into Piskel and used colors and made it look close enough to Mari, close enough. Now that I had my animations, I went into the Unity asset store and picked some tile sets that I thought were cool. For the second level, I used the warped cave tile set, which I used for the first Mario game that I made. It was kind of like a little callback thing. I made these levels all on stream, by the way, twitch.tv/smallfries, if you are interested in seeing me make other games in the future or just do a whole bunch of other stuff. But yes, I made these all on stream using the tile sets, and I'm actually really happy with the way that the levels turned out. In terms of the actual code, everything I learned was from Chris's tutorials on YouTube. He has some really cool videos on how to make some, really cool games and stuff. A mix of a little bit of other tutorials too for things like the pause menu and the UI and things of that nature. But primarily for the actual code, it was Chris's tutorials. And in terms of the way that the enemies work, it is relatively simple. They have a script that makes them walk back and forth. They can detect walls and edges. When they reach a wall or an edge, they turn around and go the other way until they reach another wall or edge. When the player stands in front of a detection zone that is in the at the front of the enemy, it triggers them to attack. Obviously, the attack does damage, and the damage takes health away from the player. If enough damage is taken, the player dies. In game, of course. It's a similar concept for the flying enemies, except obviously they don't have ledges or walls to hit. So there are little waypoints that the enemies fly around, and they go, follow that little path that I've drawn out. And again, when the player enters the detection zone, it triggers them to attack. The attack does damage takes away from the player, blah blah. You get the idea. Now, in order to counteract this, obviously I needed health pickup so you can get back some of the health that you may lose from fighting the enemies. And I did that obviously in the form of gifted subs, because obviously streaming, subs, health, it just made sense. It just made sense to me, and I think it turned out pretty cool. But yeah, there isn't really too much to say about the game. It is very simple, and it is something that I do want to improve. I really want to make, more sophisticated games with more advanced enemy AI and cooler movesets. I want to have items that you can pick up and switch between using a sword and using your fists, and it does different damage. But it's things that take time, things that I need to learn. And to really bring the game together, obviously it needed some music, and who better to go to than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Oradize, who has made some music for games in the past. Again, the title screen game is the same. The title screen music is the same music that was used for the first Mario game that I had made. So again, a little callback to that. Same with the menu music. That was the level 1 music for the Mario game that I made like a year ago or 2 years ago, however long it was. Speaking of the menu, Bad Astro, very talented artist, came and he did the drawing and the background for the menu. I obviously added in the buttons and made them functional and work, but he did the drawings, and I think it looks so good, and it turned out really well. So he drew all the different layers, sent them to me, and I animated them. That's when you see the the player float in from the right side going left, and the circle spinning in the back, and things that just make it really cool. And I feel like, bro, this is one of my favorite menus that I've done ever, and it's mostly thanks to Astro. I'm not gonna lie, like 95% of Astro's work. So please go support him. I'll leave his Instagram in like the description or something. W Astro. He also did the logo. So the games I had done before were Stream Fighters, but after a little bit of looking, I don't want to run into any legal issue with Streets Fighters, so I changed it to Content Clashes because I think that is, I don't know, it's a more appropriate name. It works. So he did the logo for that too, which looks really good. In terms of the narrative and story for the game, it's just something silly that I thought of that I think would just work. Obviously, Dan Clancy, CEO of Twitch and Trolls. I thought it was something funny, silly, goofy. But again, that is something that I want to improve on in future games that I might make. A bit of a more developed storyline that makes it more engaging to play rather than something that's, I guess, serviceable. You know, it works just for the game. But it's all about improving, right? It's all about improving and making things a little bit better than the last time. And for the rain particles that you've been seeing in the background, that was actually something that someone in the chat, they sent a YouTube short. I can't find the YouTube short now. If I do, I'll put it on the screen, but if not, then it was just a YouTube short that quickly explained how to add some rain effects, and it really brought the game alive. I'm not gonna lie. Rather than having it on like a flat background and nothing going on, it just added a little bit of life to the level. And finally, I want to talk about the boss fight. It follows the same principle as the regular enemy AI, except for the boss. The hitbox is a little bit harsher, the health is beefed up, movement speed beefed up, and damage beefed up as well. It is a one-shot boss that I think is provides for quite a fun boss fight. But as I'm saying, bro, I really want to include and have more moves. I want the boss to have more moves and maybe a phase transition. Like if you get the boss down to a certain amount of health, the moveset changes for the boss. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be really cool, and it's something that I am looking forward to doing in the future. But anyways, that's pretty much the brief rundown of how I made this game. If you haven't already, please check it out. I'll leave a link to that in the description. And I have way more games coming in the pipeline. I've got one for Joe Bart coming up, one for Tony, one for a whole bunch of streamers. And at the end of the Mari game, there is an announcement for a new project that I am working on. So if you haven't already, please go check that out. Be sure to follow me at twitch.tv/smurfrides, and I will see you guys in the next one, man. Take care.